Welcome along to Man in the Mirror. It's Hayden here. And as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm here with Chris Hjerling, who is the co-founder of Brightside. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Adam.
It's my pleasure, and it's really good to meet you in person. And yeah, I was introduced to the brand through a former guest, and I know it's someone that you know as well. It's Adam Hurly, who's a grooming journalist who's American but now based in Lisbon. But he was saying great things about the Brightside product, and I really respect his opinion. And you were kind enough to send over from San Diego some of the products which I've really enjoyed. And yeah, it's we'll get into it. Mostly grooming products for now, but particularly the texture cream and the salt and surf spray I've introduced into my regime, and super easy, smell great, and work really well. So I was keen to talk to you and find out a bit more about the brand. And you may have detected an American accent. Chris is in San Diego, and yeah, look, tell me a bit more about Brightside and how it came about, because I believe you're from a hospitality background originally. Is that right?
Yeah, my business partner and I are we were brick and mortar service industry guys, so
Right.
mostly restaurant and bars for a decade. And
In San
in the
Diego, is
latter,
that?
yeah, San Diego for the most part. My business partner had some up through Southern California in LA as well, and we had met on a specific restaurant project, and it was in that 2016, 2017, heading into 2018 timeframe. A lot of things were changing in the industry. A lot
Mm,
of the food prices, labor, et cetera, it was the dynamic of the industry was really changing.
was it?
And we still love the service side of things. And at the time, my business partner had become pretty good friends with a really high end, like well put together barber who was also looking to expand. And we liked the idea of maintaining a brick and mortar service concept. And so we really just started working with him to develop his concept and maybe expand upon it. And he had such a small one man sort of shop, very high end suit and tie situation. Through it, we sort of discovered it wasn't an expandable type of concept. And but we really liked it. So we worked with him, then we worked with a couple of other barbers, and we decided to create a barbershop concept of our own. Because through about a year and a half, both of us, as the men's grooming trend and the barbershop trend, etc., started to increase rapidly in California.
Mm,
We also noticed with that it became very niche, very themed. Either the cash only barber, the rock barber, the cool barber, and so for the, I don't say average person, but more of the masses, the kind of non clicky barbershop were the really big chains. So there really
yeah.
wasn't a premium yet casual, warm and inviting environment for that. And so that's where Brightside was sort of born out of, was the idea of like, hey, let's create this concept that him and I can just go to and not worry that one barber's too cool for us or the other one, or like we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't match. It's just a good barber experience. And
So
so
was
mixing a little
Brightside?
bit of
It
the
was a
modern with old.
physical barbershop first of
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we launched 2019. Brightside was Brightside Barbers, Barbershop. And our original intention was to open up a handful of those and then build this product line to support them. And the first shop took off really quickly.
Mm,
But 7 months into that, we had just decided to launch the product line. We had our second location ready to go, and that all the companies were formed, and that was the week of March 7th ish
yeah.
2020.
I
And
see
so
where this is going. Yeah.
yes, exactly. We're not an original story, but
Oh
the
God.
the following week, just everything shut down. And so the brick and mortar side of things, we rode that wave with our single shop for the next couple of years, in and out, open, close, indoor, outdoor. And through that, the dynamic of the barber changed. A lot more people went independent. A lot of the salon suites, single rentals or double chair rentals started to really boom because people had already started to go out on their own. And in line with that, as we were developing the product, the cool part was we had this shop to develop the product out of. So we'd go to a manufacturer, we'd start our testing. We knew we wanted to own the formulas, so we would be. I got my sort of master's in Google chemistry, and we just went back and forth. But we had this blessing of every round we had 5 to 6 pros plus tens, if not hundreds, of customers that were like,
people to test it on.
yeah, just play with it. We would do
Yeah.
blind testing, competitive testing. And so we had this really amazing ability to test the quality of the product and the demand of the market. And
Yeah.
so through 2 years of every up and downs, from manufacturers going in and out of business with us to going bankrupt on us, stealing our money, it was
Oh my God.
it was a wild, wild ride. So we ended up taking almost over 3 years from inception to launch,
To the first product.
to the first product launch. Yeah. We got close to launching a handful of times, and then a manufacturer would either go out of business or whatnot. But at each stage, we'd move the formula over. We'd have to tweak it, because if even just moving East Coast to West Coast here, some of the molecular weights would change in product, and the product always got better. So that was our silver lining. Yeah. And in 2023, we were realizing we just wanted to losing interest in the shop aspect, because we really started to see that professionals wanted to branch out on their own. And I love it. I'm an entrepreneur by trade. So the idea of that was fantastic. The following year, we ended up selling our barbershop retail to a barber couple.
Right.
And so it was like, it's great. Put it in the hands of the pros. They tweaked the name a little, and now they're running it. It's going great. And we just,
and you can concentrate on the product. Yeah.
Product. And through that, we were like, the feedback we got from the customers, which was cool, was that was where we were like, let's not look at this as just something that can feed our brand. And now we can kind of feed the masses. And Brightside was born, and we've switched over to Brightside Style, and that's the URL. And we're off to the races.
Off you go. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
It's weird to think of an overnight success, but it took 4 years to get here.
Yeah, with those strange old years of COVID and lockdown and everything that ensued with that. But even, I mean, you took us through the journey there, and I suppose in some ways there'd be lots of people who'd set up a barbershop and wouldn't even think of creating their own products. They'd just go to American Crew or Baxter or any of these people. What was it that, because clearly you've mentioned you're an entrepreneurial guy with your co-founder. What was it? Did you see a particular gap and you thought, we need our own product line? What was it that made you want to create product alongside the service right from the get-go, pretty much?
That's a good question. From the original concept, it was just a good business model. We liked the idea of, if we're going to expand to multiple locations, it's nice to just have a branded product. And what a lot of barbers do here, which is really easy to do, is sort of the white label or private label.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, you put your sticker on a mass-made product, and it's low margin. And I think originally we looked at that, but it was just really bad stuff.
Yeah, the quality of the product was decent,
but it was just really nasty ingredients. And I think there was a part of us that we kind of made boundaries in the type of businesses we wanted to be. And it was like, no matter what, we want to enjoy the people we work with. We want to be good stewards of whatever we put out there. So clean ingredients. And so we had these lanes, and it was getting really hard to do anything that wasn't our own. And I think through that process, we fell in love with the idea. And through the testing, we fell in love with this aspect of creating. And so it was always an intention to build a brand, but to build this type of brand in this model was just a side effect of kind of finding the lane that we really enjoyed and fit in.
Yeah. And what's really exciting is that Brightside is pretty soon coming to the UK and the EU, which is amazing. Tell me about the current lineup. What are the products that you have so far and that might be heading across the Atlantic?
Yeah, so we're launching. We have 5 right now. It's our Salt and Play Surf Spray, which has really taken off.
Right here.
Yeah, fantastic product. And then our 3 hair styling clays and pomades, our textured cream. That one was a real fun one because the texture powder, I've loved it. I love the idea of it. outside of the pro world, the feedback we were getting, like customers don't. It's a messy. It's cool, but it was a hard product. We made one, we had one, and then through that we really liked where the grooming creams and pastes were going, and that was sort of the one we did fill a hole. Like we set out to kind of just to mix the two, and then our hybrid pomade is a pretty clean and traditional, but it's a water-based, medium hold, nice flexible pomade. And then our
A
firm
little bit
clay,
of shine on it as well, isn't it?
just a hint of
Yeah,
shine, yeah.
yeah.
And then our firm clay wax is pretty just a premium version of your standard firm clay and matte clay. And then our utility oil, and the only reason we named it a utility oil is a lot of the beard oils on the market are very thick. They're very heavy. They're very greasy. And some people like that. We just didn't go for that market because our goal was non-pore clogging. I use it on my skin. You can use it on your hair. So through a lot of the feedback as we were developing it, a lot of people really liked a lighter, drier finish, easily absorbed. And so when we were trying to name it and utilize it, all the feedback we got was everyone using it for different reasons, even including like tattoos. And so that's where the utility oil was sort of born. So those
I get
five.
that though. I'm not keen on sort of probably just a personal thing, but adding a really thick oil, it doesn't feel good to me to be adding sort of, because I feel like I'm shiny enough. I don't want to be adding extra oil, into my beard.
Same.
Yeah.
And it's not, the one thing we saw, it's not that it's the thicker oils are bad. Nothing. I think there's a market and a place and a demographic for literally everyone's product. It's just we haven't made one for that yet, or we may not. And so it's not a matter of ours is better than a thick one. It's just we have a significant population we found that really likes that style, and that's what we're serving in the moment. We have a handful of additional SKUs, but those five are out on the market, all tested, proven. We own our formulas, and so we're bringing them over to your side of the pond.
Fantastic. And have you any idea where, it might be too early, but have you any idea where people might be able to buy them? Will it be an online thing or physical stores, or both?
Both. Yeah. So we've connected with a really good distributor over there in Slick Styles. They have a website that we'll be shipping it within the next week. So I imagine,
amazing.
Yeah, within a month or so, or when this podcast airs, we could set that timeline. We'll launch our Amazon market over there as well, and then he'll also be going for all brick and mortars. So same what we do here in the States is online as well as brick and mortar. Pro, we have some in the natural grocery market space here, department stores. So it's a line. We've done our best in terms of calling it sort of the fine casual or like welcoming. So it's a premium product, but it's a very welcoming price product. We don't believe in the luxury price tag, but what's in the bottle, what's in the jar is really, really good stuff. And so it can sit in a premium shelf, but it can also sit in a very casual barbershop, small boutique store. We have a lot of men's apparel stores that carry it here too as well.
Great. I think you're right. There's a really nice sweet spot with what Brightside are doing, and I think with the formulas and the products itself, but also even the design and the aesthetic of it. I've mentioned this before. Sometimes the whole grooming barbershop line, certainly in the UK, it falls down these tropes of Victorian gentlemen and big moustaches, and everything goes a bit weird and Victoriana, and sort of curly moustaches and Sherlock Holmes and all that kind of stuff. Or I suppose sometimes it can go kind of very mass market and garish colors and all that. But I think what with the Brightside products here, just very, very clean, and as you mentioned, clean in terms of the look, but also as you said, there's a story to tell about the provenance and the fact that there's no nasties in here. It's sort of a clean formula, isn't it? And Californian products, even now, I think there's an appealing quality and an attractive thing about coastal, seaside, West Coast. It's still quite an alluring thing, I think, for us Brits and Europeans.
Yeah, a little sunshine.
Yeah, exactly.
We set out. I appreciate all of those other types of branding as well. I think that's when even for us, there's a home for it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're bad.
Especially in the pro world, the barbershops and salons, that's a really, really hot sort of trend. But ours is customer first, and ultimately we found that there's a significant amount of people that just want to keep it simple. So both in the brand, in our story, and everything, though I love the men's grooming has taken off. I love the men's skincare. I love the fact that men are taking care of themselves. It's a great
Yeah.
expanding trend.
Gives
But
me
at the
something to
same
talk
time, we
about,
didn't
Chris,
want to, yeah, at the same time, we didn't want to become the, all right, well, here's your 5 products that you need to put on your face at night. Like, it's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of the day, we just wanted to keep it simple. We're making products we feel have a home. We make products that feel help and feel a need, but we're not going to put 3 of the same thing in 3 different bottles with 3 different numbers. So you kind of just so you buy more stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Our goal is still to keep your daily routine as simple as possible. So if there's a product that has 2 solutions, we're not making 2 products.
It'll go in the jar. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true though, isn't it? I think, and again, people have different capacity for, and we'll get onto your routine, but I've spoken to people on the podcast where they seem to be able to make 30 minutes of time in the evening to do a sort of 10-step routine and a double cleanse and eyes and everything, which is like amazing. But I
Kudos.
suppose the reality for a lot of people is we're often time poor and we're trying to fit these things into our routine just to help us feel better or stop us aging or whatever it might be. And as simple and as easy and as fuss free as it can be, often the better, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think if you can, and that's a personal philosophy as well. I think a lot of the care and self care comes more internal, more physical and mental.
Yeah.
That's really what's going to help a lot of your skin and look more so than anything topical. I love the idea. I mean, I've tested them. You have this beautiful packaging, 5 steps, and then you get to it, and you're like, well, this is almost more stressful. I might be negating the help because you're
What
right.
if I
Sometimes I'm
go
like,
straight to step 4? Ah.
yeah, yeah, I can't. And again, if you have time, if it works for you, fantastic. There's nothing against it. I think the idea is if we can give you a simple, relatively easy quality product that you can accomplish, it's more important that you feel that it's easy and worth it to do. And if you can find the 2 seconds to do it versus the 30 minutes, you're gonna do it more often and you're gonna feel better about the
Exactly.
process. And I
And
think
build
in
it
that,
into your routine. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And so ours is mental and physical health as well. This is just one extra aspect to who you are.
Sure. Well, look, it's a good link into your own morning and evening routines, Chris. And I wonder, you get to sample lots of products, and you obviously know the hair and grooming area really well. What sort of
Mm-hmm.
routine do you have? What kind of products do you build into your morning and evening routine?
the the interesting part is when you originally asked this, the showering aspect, a lot of the on body product,
Hmm.
shower conditioners, or I'm still in the process of, there's probably no less than 6 or 7 different brands at a time because
Really?
I'm still in this curiosity phase
Yeah, yeah.
of testing and, ooh, what are these guys doing? How do where do they smell? What's
Well,
their
this smells
viscosity?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I I I I'm a morning and evening shower a lot. I'm an active individual, so I would probably say I overly shower than the standard routine. But I can't say any products on that route because I'm eventually, as we launch our shower product, that will be the only
That'll
thing.
be the one.
But in the meantime, and it's ready, it's there. We just haven't
Is
launched it
it?
yet. We're
Yeah.
tweaking. Yeah, that was our original product.
Was it?
Our original goal with Brightside was to be a scent forward, lifestyle forward product line. And that's why even our fragrances are independently ours. We went through a fragrance house, not our manufacturer. So we always knew we wanted to own every step of this. We wanted
Right.
a clean fragrance. We want to make sure the ingredients are clean in it, but we also just wanted to be really good and complex. And so we started with the scents. We have 3. So we have our
Right.
Brightside line. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll continue the storyline with each. Everything is a state of mind. Brightside will have our dark side and our wild side. And so the idea was we had these 3 shower and conditioner body wash lines with various ingredients through it, and then it was going to be supported by the hair product line. But just through the barbershop, the way that we could test that, the manufacturing in and out, we ended up launching with the styling
I
product.
see.
So
Okay.
routine wise, I'd say one of the other brands I really like in terms of like a face scrub I'll do every now and then. It's actually a Cure. It's a women's product, I believe. So I haven't found necessarily a men's product that I like, and that's just your kind of gritted charcoal facial scrub.
Okay.
So that's a maybe twice a week thing. I don't like to overdo it. I use one of
What's the
those
brand, Chris? Is there a certain
Cure
brand you use?
ACURE.
AC. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a nice. It's a
I could.
clean. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and uh, I use the exfoliating like towel in the shower. I grew up in Hawaii, and that is a sort of a from Japan, and so that's the standard that I grew
Oh,
up with.
okay.
I see it becoming a little bit more of a trend now here,
Yeah.
but there was no bald loofahs or anything,
Yeah.
or cloth towels. It's like that's what you used. So I've
Oh,
always been a fan of that.
yeah.
It also lathers way better than anything else.
Right.
Beard trim and things of that nature. Just I think I have a wall or an Arelco. Yeah, I think I was spoiled having the barber shop because I
Yeah,
could
I'm
just go
sure.
sit. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
just go sit in a chair,
Someone will do it
and
for you.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
now I'm back to having to groom myself, and then obviously Brightside products for hair styling, and on occasion I have kind of a facial cleanser matte clay. That's a Kiehl's.
Hmm. Keels are great. Yeah, it just
Yeah, they're great.
works really
They
well.
double check. They go in and out of the quality of some of the ingredients on their stuff, but it's a great line too. And that's honestly, that's kind of it. I have very simple. The
How
oil on
often do you go
occasion.
to the How often do you go to the hairdressers or barbers? It looks quite a sort of neat haircut. You go every few weeks.
Yeah, I try to. It's
Yeah.
a little busy life, but
Yeah, I'm
two
sure.
weeks would be my every 10 to 14 days is probably if I wanted to keep it clean. I just
Yeah.
beard trim and stuff at home,
Yeah, sure.
and then every now and then I just have to cut my own hair.
And what about fragrance? Do you are you? I know that there may be some developments in terms of Brightside
Mm-hmm.
and fragrance, but do you have other fragrances in your? Do you have like a scent wardrobe? Do you have a signature scent? What's your relationship with fragrance?
In the past few years, it's been pretty minimal, but I feel like I've just throughout my life, I've gone through phases where you
Mm,
have that one or two for like 2 or 3 years.
yeah,
And maybe it's depending on a relationship or just what you're doing in life. I've
yeah.
always been style wise, I've always been more clean and fresh.
Hmm.
I think I even started off with like Cool Water when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
amazing. I think we
Yeah,
all
yeah.
did. Yeah.
But no Jakar, like I'm starting to appreciate a little bit more of the uh, potent sort of woodsy sense. I, what I like is that a lot of brands, and including in our development, a lot of brands are finding a little bit lighter of a balance with that now. I think
Mm.
for many years it was just this potent sort of cedar
And,
tobacco, like
and some of the oud ones.
patchouli.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like and I can't. That for me, I could not. I other cool brands though. As we've been testing, I really like what Salt and Stone's done. They have some very clean, simple. It's a body mist more than so it's a
Right.
lower concentration. They've done a really good job on theirs. The bergamots and um, and right now for me, I have probably 20 different samples for our stuff. And because we're developing three fragrances, I have sort of three. So, our bright side is definitely a daytime fresh, starts off with that bergamot, like you
It
hit the
would make
the
sense, I
mint
think, with what
eucalyptus comes
everything you've
in.
said about the brand. It would make that. It would be strange if the first one was sort of smoky and dark and oody. I think from what you
Yeah,
said,
no,
I'd hope it would be light and refreshing and clean.
yeah. And it's a little bit harder. It's very limited in the clays and the texture spray, but that is the bright side fragrance. We're going to add a little complexity once we go to a full body spray, but it'll be the bergamot with that hint of eucalyptus and mint, and then sort of end in the light white woods, not a heavy base, but a very clean finish. Our dark side, which is definitely more your suited up, like warm sex appeal. It is more cologne-ish in nature. It's a lavender, a little bit of hint of citrus, and like a santal based. I really love
Okay.
that trend. I love the sort of
Yeah.
Yeah, cedar and sandalwood combo. And then our wild side, we're definitely getting into the oud, and we'll have some fun, really
Yeah.
bold. Like that's the one that you're either gonna love it or you're not gonna like it at all.
But that's okay, isn't it? It's good to be
Absolutely.
divisive. I think find an audience.
Yeah. And each one is the storyline. The bright side is your silver lining. It's some I think it I don't want to say you attach to one of those because I think we all have that in us. We may lean toward one more often than not. We may have a personality or a look or a vibe or wardrobe that sort of falls into one. But at the end of the day, I think there are three different mindsets that everyone can appreciate.
Yeah,
You're
different facets of us. Yeah.
yeah, bright side is literally on the nose. It's just the bright side of life. It's casual, it's independence, it's free spirited, it's loving the adventure. The dark side is a little bit more of that refinement, a little bit more polished, a little more wisdom, and then your wild side is clearly just it's not wild like camping, it's not wild side like party, it's just outside of the box.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. I'm an independent human. I'm capable, strong, and I just don't follow the norms unless I want to.
Yeah. I think they're as you've explained, all really good names, and Brightside as a brand overall, I think such a positive message. And is that part of your ethos in general, Chris? I imagine it is. You seem quite an optimistic person.
Yeah, I that's exactly where it came from. I mean, in general, it's just life, and I take it seriously only on the things that you want to accomplish, but everything else, it's just life. There's too much to enjoy, and I think it's a very San Diego aspect as well. I think Southern California in general, but San Diego in particular. Um, I came here in the late '90s, and there's just this huge influx. Whether we have a big military presence, big college presence, and it's a
Yes. Yeah.
town that was built, really built from a lot of young 20 somethings or late teens in the 90s and early 2000s. It's become a really big entrepreneurial space, and the
Has it?
town has been, yeah, and the town, whether it's service industries, clothing, tech, brick and mortar, like all of it, it's a really young entrepreneur town. And I've really appreciated the attitude that there's business to be done. There's really cool things to have happen and accomplish, but we all still go to the beach, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to enjoy the ride. And so I think it's part of me, but it's also why I've chosen San Diego as a home, because it's part of who we are, and that ultimately just has developed the launch for the brand as well.
And is that part of your lifestyle outside of work? Are you someone that enjoys, um, you know,
Yeah.
beach and sort of
Oh yeah.
water sports and all that kind of stuff? Do you surf, things like that?
Yeah, surf, and then I'm a competitive outrigger, like the Hawaiian canoes. So
Oh,
we race, yeah, we race those. And so
cool.
through at least half the year, I'm on the water 3 to 4 days a week.
Amazing.
Yeah, I need sunshine.
Yeah. Well, we need more. I mean, God, it's
Yeah.
so cold and miserable here in London, let me tell you. So more of that. Um, and do you think being by the coast and being in San Diego, has that informed the product and the formula? And you've obviously got, there's an emphasis on the clean products. I imagine that's a big part of it. You can see the impact of what we do and the environment because you're right by the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, definitely just growing up in general, there's always been like an environmental, just take care of it. Regardless of your philosophy, there's no reason not to just be a good steward
Yeah.
of the earth, right?
Yeah.
So I think I've never, that's never been a political stance. It's just been a why not, and
Mm,
you, as somebody who's in a water, and I think people who are near lakes and rivers, I think you just see it. You see the
yeah.
drastic change. Even when it rains here, what flows to the ocean, it's just such an instant difference. And so you're kind of reminded of it. It's forced to be on the forefront of your mind at all times.
Got you. Yeah.
So that going into it, we wanted to do those things. The interesting part as we were manufacturing is you find it's not hard to actually do. So then it became just an
Right.
obligation because it makes things well, especially I think now, it's so easy to find better ingredients. It costs more. And through COVID, and every now and then you might see a supply chain versus the generic cheap stuff. But I don't think there's an excuse not to anymore. So it's not that I think we're
No.
better or like it takes this extra. It's really to do the level of at least clean. It's really easy to do. I don't see why brands wouldn't.
And I think also it's what the consumers expect these days, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't launch a brand now that had lots of nasty. Well, it would be strange to launch a brand that didn't have a focus on clean products and all that, because consumers will interrogate brands so much more now that they're interested in what goes into the products, I think.
Yeah, and then now it's just the hard part for the consumer is navigating, what we call greenwashing,
Yeah, yeah,
where it's easy to manipulate the feel and the look. And I appreciate some of it's just marketing, but there are, even down to the preservatives, choosing something that has a really low EWG score or a very low allergen rating or
what
anything
does
of that nature.
EWG mean, Chris?
It's Environmental Working Group. It's just an org, and you can look up almost every ingredient, every chemical, and it kind of collects the metadata, whether
Right.
it's consumption or topical, and it just gives a score of sort of this 1 to 8, 1 and 2
Okay.
being little to no, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and then 7 and 8. It's kind of like, hey, there's a lot of issues,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of really small ingredients like preservatives that are really cheap and they work really well, but they're eights and they'll be in brands that claim to be clean. And
Mm.
so it's just navigating that. And it's hard as a brand when you're making a product. The hard part is the cheap stuff really works. Like
Mm.
that's why they were in there to begin with. And
Yeah.
as you go cleaner, the challenge is performance. And so we've created this triangle of balancing clean ingredients with performance, and then also being able to like scent, look, peel, and making sure that we blend all three of those. So that was our biggest challenge with manufacturers, was sort of knowing that we could create a performance and stay clean. And a lot of manufacturers still default to, well, if you do this, it's just not going to work as good
Yeah.
because it's just easy. And you, so we've been through 4 manufacturers. Some our
Yeah.
fault,
Or,
some
or
theirs.
sometimes brands that, it's all about, it becomes about, it's got to be a certain price point. So everything works back from that, and, have to make
It's
things
and it's
cheaper,
really tough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I can see the interesting part is I can see if you're doing 100 million units or something, if you're Dove or one of those massive brands, that 5 cents here, 10 cents there, like okay, that hurts a little. But for us, if it 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents on a bottle, like you just got to remind yourself, if you lose a little margin, if you still have your price limit, that's just honestly, some of it's a business decision, but it's also just a philosophical decision.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? And for us, a
Yeah.
lot of those, not making as much money, knowing that certain products are really just not going to be that profitable, but it's important and it's a big brand piece, and it'll overall, the idea is that it helps the rest of the brand and we grow, and we'll figure out the other ways to make that money through volume later. And those are really hard decisions. I'm glad we made them. I can say during the process, because sometimes you lose 6 months to a year, you lose a lot of money. I can see why people don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only when I got to the end, I'm like, that was worth it. But
Yeah.
through a year of you know hardship and entrepreneurship, there's a voice that's always saying, go do the easy thing.
Yeah. Just
But I
accept
think
it.
that's the
Yeah.
cliche why not all people do
Yeah.
this.
But it's interesting when you explain the process and the gestation time of actually creating something and the decisions and how intentional you have to be. You can see why it takes time to bring something to market
Absolutely.
and do it the way you want to do it, because all these times there's all these decisions to make, and to try and stay focused on your aim and knowing the product you want to make, and
Yeah.
making sure it fulfills these ambitions that you have, to make it the best possible product that performs well and is clean, and everything else. So, well, look,
And I think that's
it's
why we don't there's no hate on other brands. I think I brands that are out there that are doing the good things, even if it's drastically different than ours. Like I really appreciate it. And even the competitive products that are very similar to ours, you just appreciate because you know what they've gone through. And
To make it happen, it's
to
hard
make it
enough, right?
happen. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really beautiful thing. And the more small brands, as much as the market gets sort of flooded in and outs of trends, I love the more creators that we have. It just creates a cooler environment and
Yeah. Yeah.
more choices for the consumer. And as proud as I am of our products, like there are a lot of people that just don't like them, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. There are other brands that make vastly different things that they love, and there's brands like I wouldn't, but I also have I have the biggest challenge. Interestingly, is when you're making your own product. Is I don't use the hybrid pomade. My hair's thin. I need the
Mm.
Cert Spray. Like I need some
Yeah.
extra volume and texture. I need it
Me
light.
too.
I love the firm clay. I've always been a firm clay user, but as I get older, my hair gets thinner. I need a little I need a little support. So I'll have to blow dry and or it weighs it down. So making products that you don't even like because other people do, that's actually was one of the biggest challenging formulations.
Mm.
But again,
That's
we were
interesting.
lucky enough to have
Yeah.
so many customers that we could
Who could road test
test.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wrong so many times when I would make a product like this is the best, and then everyone would be like, "This is terrible. Don't sell
But that's a
this."
proper business, isn't it? You can't, it's often, it can be a hiding to nothing if you're, of course, you often start off with an idea that's a product that you really connect with and it's all for you. But I guess it's harder to sustain a business where it's all about, one product or you loving every single thing, because that's more like art rather than commerce, isn't it? I think, in
True.
the end, you
Yeah,
you
good point.
understand the marketplace and, you have to create products that work for your consumer, I suppose.
hmm It's
Yeah.
a wonderful check on your ego all the time.
Yeah. Well, look,
The
the
level of
name of the
humility in this is
yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
the name of the podcast, Chris, is Man in the Mirror, and I'm always really keen to find out a bit more. I suppose it's the self reflection bit, and I guess the mechanism of doing our morning and evening routines and looking in the mirror, doing some of that stuff. I guess sometimes it's a time where we do have a moment to ourselves and to reflect, and it's a moment of self care. So I wonder, when you're doing your morning routine, what you think about the man that looks back at you in the mirror.
Yeah, that you have a very, very good point. I love the philosophy of that because we don't, prior to cell phones and prior to a lot of technology, you had a lot of moments throughout your day. You were sitting with your thoughts, and we just don't
Yeah.
have to anymore. We can get
No,
distracted,
if you just have a
and
phone in
so
front of your face.
absolutely, and you can
Yeah.
just I witness myself doing that. Anytime I'm in a deep thought, sometimes you just look for that distraction again, and
Yeah. The
with the
dopamine hit
way
from something
social
else.
media and devices have been created, that's the science behind them. And so really the man in the mirror moment, like when you're doing self-care, that is one of very few times, hopefully you're not also doing it with your phone, but it sort of forces you to self-reflect.
Exactly.
It is. And I think the idea a lot of times is to take it from the surface portion of self-reflection to the inside. And I think, again, simplifying that routine aspect. I mean, that's where you work through a lot of things coming up, whether it's thoughts, talking out loud, talking to yourself.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot happens in the mirror.
It does.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
does.
Sometimes I wish he'd talk back and give me some answers, but I like that. And so, in terms of what you see now, are you happy with where you are in your life stage and what's looking back?
Yeah, I'm in my mid 40s, so I'm in a very interesting stage where mentally you really do start to get comfortable and just
Mm.
care a lot less.
In a good
At
way, comfortable.
in a very good
Mm.
way, and at the same time, you're also starting to look in the mirror and be like, "Shit, who is this old person?"
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so there's this dichotomy almost sort of every
Mm.
day of embracing aging, embracing mortality, embracing all of these things that are have to happen. And then at the same time saying, well, all right, especially when it comes to personal care and grooming, you try to remind yourself to do it again internally healthy first, then the surface sort of vanity aspect. Not that that's bad, it just that can't be the thing that defines you. It's the thing that represents who you are. And that's my philosophy behind it. Is I always want to look good, I want to feel good. It does help to look in the mirror and like what you see, but you have to like who you are first and take care of who you are inside physically and mentally, and then you just polish it up on the outside.
Yeah.
Like
So it comes from the
car
inside
engine has
to the
to run.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a really pretty looking car, but if there's no engine, it doesn't work. So the mechanics have to run, and then you go get a car wash and a paint job and polish it up.
Love it. Makes sense. And finally, Chris, what are the things that bring you happiness and joy, perhaps outside of the workplace, the things that you enjoy doing?
Besides wandering, traveling, mountains and oceans, I like being around different cultures, all of the things that remind you how insignificant you are in life, which is not, sounds negative when I say it, but it's magical in terms of your
No, I
perspective of
totally
what's
know what you
important.
mean. Yeah.
And like creating, like it's sort of, that's part of the business as well. I like having a thought, bring it to fruition and making something real from a thought. And so that plays out from just building stuff to doing stuff to creating products. Again, this is a business, but at the same time, it's also what brings me happiness. And any outlet in which I can create more than I consume, I find that was, I just, again, as you get older, you find that those fulfillments are what makes you happy. And I discover that through doing it.
And it must be incredibly rewarding to have that process, as you say, from an idea to bring it to reality,
Yeah.
and see that process through. Because quite often, I suppose, the frustrations in life can often be about, you're just a cog in a wheel and you're just one part of something happening. But I imagine it must be very gratifying to, as you did do, in 2019 or whatever, to say this is what we want to do, and now it's something that's on the shelves and on the website and coming to other countries. That must be incredible.
Yeah, I think that's where fulfillment is, and I think
Yeah.
happiness is in fulfillment. And the enjoy the journey is a cliche, but it is true because the journey is really hard. But I think anytime that I find in my life when the journey gets too easy or things just sort of happen and I don't earn them, that my perspective of where happiness falls starts to shift.
Right. Yeah.
I think that line always moves, and so going through some difficulty, going through challenges, finding that you are capable of doing these things and overcoming
Yeah.
these things,
And rising
that's
to it. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
fulfillment comes in those
Yeah.
moments, and then as you do more of that, when you get through those difficult times, you can lean on that fulfillment, confidence, and happiness to like enjoy the difficult parts of it too. You just got to go through the parts you don't enjoy first to build that momentum.
Yeah, it
And
totally makes sense, because it's not supposed
yeah,
to be easy, really, is it? I think,
no,
well,
I it's such an interesting thing. I think as life gets easier in general with technology, access to food and things, I find we're more miserable.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
such an
I
interesting
think
thing.
you're right.
We're getting everything we want and we're less happy about it.
Mm,
And it's a wild thing. I think about guys our age, like the difference in our life from no tech in our teens to like where
yeah,
we are now. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can look back and drastically see the difference. And I think we look for reasoning, but that's the underlying for me philosophically is I think that's we don't have enough healthy struggle, and so we're unhappy.
And there's a lot of, and I'm a few years older than you, but there is a lot of that kind of wistful looking back, and that kind of, rose tinted nostalgia. And I'm guilty of it myself. But and we have a son who's nearly 17, and we're often talking about, oh, you'd have no idea exactly what you're talking about. The period where you had to phone a landline and talk to someone's
Yeah.
dad before you talk to a girl, or yeah, we didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
screens. You didn't take your phone to the toilet. All these kind of things,
Yeah.
and you did have to be bored. But yeah, I think there's this whole pages and pages on Facebook of memes and people just sort of talking about the past, and the 80s was better, the 90s was better, and all that kind of stuff. But I
Yeah.
guess there's some sort of kernel of truth in that thing of we look back to a more, what seems like a kind of more innocent time, or just a simpler time. But you're right. In some ways, everything we're doing, everything is designed to make life more sort of frictionless now and easier, but it doesn't seem to make people the kind of commensurate level of more happy, does it? I don't think.
Yeah, and I get it. Part of you, with every generation, you look back and your childhood was better than this childhood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think there's a cliche, and I think technology is great. Like the fact that I get to meet you, talk to you, and do this,
That's true.
it's massively more connected, but at the same time disconnected in our personal aspect of things. And
Mm.
so I don't think that it's just technology has ruined everything. I just think our responsibility with that now is to be more mindful and of those distractions. Literally everything you said, your whole philosophy with the man in the mirror is like find more moments
Mm.
where you are just sitting and not distracting, where you're creating and not consuming. And that's even just video and like you're still consuming, right? Like you're right now creating video, which is fantastic. So
Yeah.
I if it's like get on my soapbox, it's not that anything happening or access that we have is bad. I think it's great. I just think what comes with that is the responsibility of trying your best to find difficulty, to go through hardship on purpose and embrace it. And I think the more people do that, you will find more happiness, more fulfillment, and you'll also find that the more time you spend doing your thing to better yourself, you're just not going to judge or worry about others. I think that's one of the biggest side effects of everyone being so opinionated of others on all different spectrums in politics is the fact that they don't spend any time on themselves per se
Yeah. I think you're absolutely
in the
right. Yeah.
mirror.
The more time we're creating and working on our own stuff, it gives me far less time to worry about
Yeah,
everybody else's opinion. Chris, it's been a real pleasure. I've
yeah,
really enjoyed this
absolutely.
conversation. Thank you so much for telling me about Brightside, and for your candor, and for, yeah, just a little insight into your life. I'm going to put links to the products you mentioned, and of course where people can
Thank you.
find Brightside, wherever they are in the world. But I'm really excited that it's coming our side of the pond very soon,
Yeah,
and I
please,
think this is
please.
quite timely that it's coming. So I'll make sure we kind of flag exactly when it's coming. But that I really
That'd be great.
enjoyed getting to know the products, and even more getting to know you today. So thank you, and I hope we can connect in real life soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for what you do. We actually, Adam was out here this weekend, my business partner. They went and met up finally. So
Yes,
again, got to meet in person.
which is
That's
great. And yeah, I
fantastic.
met him
So
for the
cool.
first time, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And actually, because now he's in Lisbon, he's very kindly coming to London. I'm part of this event called Barnes Fragrance Fair, and I'm doing this panel called Men's Smell, and we're having so sort of moderating this panel with Adam and three other guys, one guy from retail, a guy called TJ that's amazing on TikTok, but just to have a talk around, not about men's fragrances, but just to look at fragrance through a male lens, and look at this whole thing of teenage boys getting more interested. But anyway, is
Yeah.
beside the point. But Adam is very kindly coming over and sitting on my panel, which I'm thrilled about. So I get to see him again.
He's a brilliant writer. So that's
He is,
very,
isn't he? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, very cool. And I'm definitely, as soon as we get our, final samples, we'll be sending them out your way to critique.
amazing. Chris, thank you. Enjoy the rest of
Thank you
your
very
day.
much for what you
Appreciate
do.
you coming on from San Diego in your morning. And yeah, take care. Thanks so much.
Take care. Thank you.
All right.